Welcome to You Belong in the C-Suite podcast. You are ambitious in life and in your career, but something is missing. You want to bring more of your passion to what you do. Because let's be honest, you pour a ton into your work, and it needs to mean more. I'm your host, Laura Eigel. I'm a mom, wife, PhD, coach, advocate, introvert, and indoor rowing fanatic. I'm passionate about living a life that's in line with my values. We'll give you the actionable tips and tools you need to lead with your values, make a difference, and have career success. The world needs more diversity and authenticity in the top jobs at organizations. Your leadership belongs there. You belong in the C-Suite. What gets you up in the morning? What drives your decisions? What do you stand for? No idea, not even sure where to start? I use my values to guide my life and career. It's the basis of how I've built boundaries for myself and stuck to them. Are you ready to dig into what matters to you? Go to thecatchgroup.com to download your free values worksheet. That's thecatchgroup.com to download your free values worksheet to get to your core values and take action on what matters most. Welcome to Season 3 of the You Belong in the C-Suite podcast. I'm so excited to say that. Season 3. We are heading into our third year together, y'all. And for those of you that are new here, I wanted to start by giving you my backstory. As you heard in the podcast intro, I'm a mom and wife, I have my PhD, and I'm really into indoor rowing. All those things are still true. But let's step back just a bit. I have a career spanning 20 years now. I'm an organizational psychologist, and I have my PhD in applied psychology. I've worked for small consulting firms, grown my career at a Fortune 50 company where I eventually became an HR executive. Then I was the chief learning officer in the C-Suite at an organization that is a premier leadership company for CEOs. In the middle of the pandemic, I left my big C-Suite job to start my own company, the Catch Group. And I'm also adjunct faculty at a university where I teach organizational psychology at the undergraduate and graduate levels. So throughout my whole career, as I think back, I've worked with leaders to build their careers and to help them become better leaders. And I've done that as an individual contributor, leading small teams, and leading big teams. I'm also an introvert who hasn't always led in the quote unquote traditional style with, a big voice as an extroverted person. But regardless of what role I've ever been in and who I've led, I've always led with my values. My values are family, growth, development, achievement, advocacy, and balance. Those are the values that guide my life and career. I remember when I was in my C-Suite role and I got a new manager. I'd never met him before, and we were doing one of our first meetings on Zoom, as you do, a meet and greet. And he asked me a question that felt more like an interview question, but he asked me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And very easily, I said, I'll be living a career in line with my values. And then I went on to explain what I meant by that. But I think about that from time to time. And that was probably about 3 or 4 years ago now. And I was right. Fast forward, I'm living a life and career aligned to my values. And by doing that, it has helped me build that life with boundaries aligned to those values and help me prioritize how I spend my time, who I work with, and the kinds of things I do in my career now. It has helped me make values-aligned decisions, from small decisions to those big decisions, like leaving that big job to start my own company. So now I teach leaders how to identify their values, to lead their lives in line with their values. And that looks different for each leader that I work with. Sometimes this means tackling big questions like, should I stay at this company? Should I continue to grow here? Or am I ready to branch out and find something new? It might be coaching a leader on how to bring their values within a new job that they have to lead others and model that behavior for them. It's different for everyone. Now that it's at, the beginning of the year, just like me, you've probably been inundated with marketing messaging to eat healthier, lose all that weight, and achieve your dream goals in life. Have you guys been inundated with the same stuff? Everything magical seems to happen in January, right? So clean slate to be the person that you've always wanted to be. It feels like this romanticized time to create new goals, to set intentions, and have a New Year's resolution. And in the past, I have lived for this time of year. Y'all, achievement is one of my values. And I know that many of my clients have that as a value too. So achievement and sometimes overachievement have definitely had me build out some really big goals. But when you realistically think about behavior change and being able to actually attain those goals, I think there's a statistic out there that says like 97% of all New Year's resolutions fail. And I have definitely been a part of that statistic. This isn't a magical time of the year for goals. It's just a convenient time of the year because we quote unquote start over. New year, new me. So this year, I'm heading into the year wanting to set goals, but more importantly, I want to be able to actually make a sustainable change and working on just a couple of things. So in previous years, I've gone in with an all or nothing mentality. I'm either killing it or I'm an absolute failure and I didn't attain it. So that gives me the permission to quit, right? Well, this year, I'm going in with a different mindset. And I'm going to use my values to lead the way to the goal that I want and the behavior change that I want for myself. I'm going into this year with more intentionality and, more importantly, more grace for myself. And I want to teach you how to do the same. And I want you to come along with me in this journey. So I'm going to walk you through an exercise that I did using the values check-in, which is an exercise that's available in my book, Values First, and in the Values First workbook. That's the workbook that accompanies the book. It has over 50 pages of self-reflection exercises that you can download for free at thecatchgroup.com/valuesfirst. So go grab that. But before we dig into the values check-in, I want to set the stage. So I've mentioned this in podcasts before, but the week in between Christmas holiday and New Year's, that week that feels like you don't even know what day it is and that like time doesn't exist. I love that week. Some people hate it, but this is one of my favorite weeks of the year. During that week, my husband and I have a tradition to spend time with each other and to do goal setting. So we usually do this without the kids. So shout out to my parents for watching our kiddos again while we did this planning again this year. So this year we spent time at a new coffee shop and sat outside. That's another one of my favorite things to do, sitting outside. And the weather is really nice here in Texas right now, so we're able to do that. So we kind of deep dived into some of the things, and I keep a Trello board of our goal setting chats. Yes, I do this. Remember, achievement runs through my veins. And so I track this stuff just to document and recall what we talked about the previous year, and so that we don't have to recreate the wheel. Anyway, so we talked about what we went through in the previous year, what we liked. So what we thought went successfully. So from how we spent our time or how we spent our money or things that made us happy, like taking vacations with the kids, staying committed to workouts, cooking. We had some really great morning routines for our family. We also talked about things that we didn't think went as well, like not getting enough sleep or getting too much screen time, for instance. This is a tangent, but another question that I love that we ask each other: how do you want me to show up to best support you this year? So, for instance, I asked Brian, for me to support you, how do you want me to show up for you? So I love this question so much. So instead of him supporting me how he thinks I need him or things he wants to do for me, he asks me and I can tell him what would be most helpful. So no guessing needed. It's always really great discussion that we have. And during the day, we also look at financial goals and set individual goals and tell each other those goals for the year. So in preparation for that conversation, I did a values check-in, and I want to walk you through that. And I hope that you can spend some time to do your values check-in as well. The values check-in is something that I like to do every 90 days or so, or once a quarter, to check in with my values. And it's a thing that I think keeps it sustainable. It allows for change. It allows for evolution. I'm not locked into the same thing the whole year. And so that's what I love about this. So in preparation for that conversation, I did the values check-in. And I'm just a huge proponent of using these tools. I'm not going to teach you about something or do something that I don't consistently do myself. So I think there's too much out there like that. You know, the saying, the cobbler's children don't have shoes. So you've probably heard me talking about the importance of modeling behavior. And modeling behavior is one of the most important things that we can do as leaders. And then talk about what you're doing. So I want to do this here with you. I want to be able to model what is working and what isn't working for my team, for myself, so that it reminds you to do that same thing. And that modeling gives others permission to do the same. So this is me modeling using my own tools. The world is getting more and more complex and a bit chaotic. Pandemic, social unrest, recession, hybrid workforce, you name it, it is here. And it's hard to navigate home and work for yourself and for your team. And what about time for you? It seems non-existent. A recent podcast listener and reader told me the following: "This has been a light bulb moment, knowing my values and then identifying boundaries to protect my values and building systems to support those boundaries. It's been incredible. When I've broken one of those boundaries, remembering my values has kept me focused." In Values First, this book can give you the tools to build those boundaries, but more importantly, how to keep them, with a proven framework to identify what matters most to you and the motivation to build a sustainable plan. Values First, how knowing your core beliefs can get you the life and career you want, is now available wherever books are sold. Go to thecatchgroup.com/valuesfirst to learn more and stay connected. That's thecatchgroup.com/valuesfirst. So first and foremost, to check in on your values, you need to know what your values are. If you're just joining this community and podcast or never got around to doing this, then this is a really great time to do it. You can get the values worksheet, which helps you identify your values, and lots of other great stuff like the values check-in in that Values First workbook that I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast. So take a minute, pause this, go grab it if you haven't already. Go to thecatchgroup.com/valuesfirst and download the whole workbook and come back to us. So that's where I'm starting with my values check-in. And if you have that Values First workbook, I'm on page 15 of that workbook. I started by listing out my core values of family, growth, development, advocacy, achievement, and balance. And then I answered the question, how is this value showing up in my life? Followed by the question, how do I feel about it? So for this example, I'm not doing a retrospective for the past year. I'm doing current state. How do I currently feel about my values right now? So I did this for each of my values, and I'll share one that I'm feeling really great about and one that I'm not feeling not so great about. So for my value of growth, I answer the question, how is that value showing up in my life? So I love growth, and I define growth as my personal and professional growth. So I'm a personal development and leadership junkie. So sometimes I can over-index on this. I have a business bestie that I always check in with before I sign up for something else, because she knows that sometimes, not sometimes, always, I overcommit here because of the value of growth and because of the value of achievement. Those two together make me want to do all of the programs and learn all of the things right now. So for this one, I decided to not enroll in one program and push another one back to the end of the year because I knew I was overcommitted. So currently I am part of 2 programs that I'm excited about that will grow me in different ways in my business. And I'm excited for both of those opportunities. And so how do I feel about this value of growth? I feel really good about it, and I'm excited about it for the year. Next, my value of balance. So you know that this doesn't mean work-life balance. You know I do not believe in that. Instead, I believe in prioritizing what's important. So how have I been prioritizing what I call balance? Where is this showing up in my life? So I'm still exercising most days, which these days looks like either indoor rowing or taking a 2 to 3 mile walk. I feel in control of the day. I'm taking multiple days off during the month. I'm reading a lot, although I need to get more fiction books in my queue. So send me any of your suggestions on fiction books, please, as an aside. But I'm not feeling super great about balance holistically because of that screen time that I mentioned before and that not sleeping as much as I should be. So to put it simply, I'm just too connected to screens, work screens, my phone, and shows on Netflix, for example. So the next part of the values check-in is to answer the question, what will you celebrate and what will you recalibrate moving forward? So for my value of growth, I'm going to celebrate my first wins in those professional development programs. And I'll do that by sharing successes in those communities. And I'm also going to do that by treating myself to alone time each month for an activity I enjoy, like a spa appointment or something. Remember, alone time is important for me because I'm an introvert. That's how I recharge. For my value of balance, I'm going to recalibrate. I need to recalibrate my nighttime routine. I'm going to do that by putting in some boundaries. And I've started to do a few things, but I will be honest, I need some accountability. I am always recalibrating the boundaries that I need. And when I think about boundaries, I don't think about them as barriers or walls or strict rules. I think about boundaries as a way for me to really invest in my values, to nurture those values, to ensure that I'm prioritizing them. So remember, I love using my tools to model behavior. So I want to do this with you. So I am inviting you on my boundary building journey. To hold myself accountable, I'm going to hold a workshop. So I will be facilitating it, but I'll also be a participant too. And I want you to do this with me. We'll be capping our attendance. So I want you to grab your spot soon. So join me in this workshop called Build a Boundary with Me. So I want you to do that. Go to thecatchgroup.com/boundary workshop to get more information. It's in just a few weeks, so grab your spot now. I cannot wait to see what this year holds for all of us. And I'm excited to start the year out at my own pace, to set some realistic goals, but with the mindset of intentionality and grace for myself. And I wish the same for you. And I'd love to build a boundary with you. So grab a spot in the Build a Boundary with Me workshop at thecatchgroup.com/boundary workshop. Remember, your leadership belongs here. You belong in the C-suite. I want to thank you so much for listening to the You Belong in the C-Suite podcast. If you are enjoying this content, please remember to rate and review on Apple Podcasts. By leaving a review, you are helping others find this content. We will be featuring 5-star reviews on air in upcoming episodes. Editing and support for the podcast is done by S&E Podcast Management. To get more tips and tools to help you live a life guided by your values, go to thecatchgroup.com. Keep your boundaries and take care.